Hello and welcome to Forward Camera's YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing. Today we're going to talk about one very interesting type of camera made by many different camera manufacturers, and it's called the folding camera. Folding cameras have been around since the 19th century all the way up until probably the 1950s, and they're really cool. Now, 1930s, 1920s, 1910s, and also 1940s and 50s, cameras are pretty big, and so folding camera was something very easy and compact that you could put in your pocket or your bag and travel with. It is very cool. Let's talk about two of them today. One folding camera that I'm going to discuss, and it's this one over here, is called Kodak, and this particular camera is Art Deco. It has a really cool design. It's from the 1930s. Very easy to use camera. And the reason why it's so easy to use is because all you need to do is take a photo is click. Bam, took a photo. This one over here is called a Voigtlander Bessa, and it's from 1930. This one's a little bit more advanced, so for those of you who are interested in using a folding camera and want to have a little bit more options for shutter speeds and aperture, this would be the camera for you. Plus, it is super sexy. Let's talk about this one. This is also super sexy, but it's easy. In order to open it up and it expands, you press this button over here. Press the button down and you'll notice that there's something called bellow. Bellows allow the camera to be smaller and open to a larger camera to use, right? They're also very sensitive, so you don't want to pierce them because that will ruin your photos. In order to take a photo with this camera, what you need to do is, just like our brownies that we talked about in a previous video, you look down into this area to have a horizontal photo. You press down on this lever over here and you would take your photo. Or you could take vertical photos by moving the camera vertically. Look through here, frame your photo, and you would again press down the lever on the side, and once it clicks, you took your photo. You have two options here. Not very many options for shutter speeds for the Kodak. We switch it to I to just take a photo by pressing down. So watch. Done, took a photo. We press this lever to T on the left side to take a longer exposure, meaning that when I press down, notice that the lever stays there until I press again. So it holds the camera open for however as long I want the camera to be open. Now, let's talk a little bit about this camera, right? So 1930s, gorgeous, family-friendly camera that we could take with us, right? And it takes something called 620 film, which was basically Kodak's 120 film at the time. It will take 120 film, which is modern film. You could still take photos with this camera. You just have to file down the ends of the film spool for it to fit properly in here. So it's a little bit tight originally until you file it down, but it will take gorgeous photos. To collapse it, we just carefully press down on the lid and it very nicely collapses into itself until it clicks, and then once it clicks, it's locked. To open up the back case to put the film in, there's a little knob here. It's called the advanced knob. We move it clockwise outwards until it pops out, and then we very gently try to take both hands and move the front of the camera from the back of the camera until both pop out, like so. Notice that they separate. Be very gentle. Now, we want to put this spool up here, and we want to put our new film down here and move the film, 120 film, or 620 along the back, and put it into the spool. I'm going to keep the spool here, right, just for now, for my purposes, but we would take this out, put it in there, and move it to the top. And then we push this in clockwise until it clicks, and then we move the film from the bottom to the top until you see arrows on the bottom. Once that's done, you know that you're ready to close the camera. So if that's the case, we take our back, we align the back very carefully from the bottom upwards until it clicks. And when it clicks, right, we know that we're ready and we're good to go. So if that's the case, we could take a photo. Just make sure that it's completely clicked like that, okay? Now once we open up the camera and we're ready to take a photo, one other thing that I did not discuss was that we could focus, and we focus with the lens over here. So it will tell you. It's hard to see, it says beyond 10 feet. So this is focus when it's over 10 feet. So for instance, landscapes. Let's just say you want to take photos from 5 feet to 10 feet. We will move this lens and rotate it counterclockwise to that area over there. So that's very easy camera to use, and I highly recommend Jiffy Kodak because it's super fun to use. It's super cool, and you're going to get really interesting soft focus photos that are vintage looking, and it's just not that much to it other than taking a photo. So I would recommend this for people who are, you know, really interested in something easy but awesome. Now, I also am very careful, right? There's a little area here covering the red box. Try to cover it so it doesn't get damaged because they're easily damaged. It's a historic camera. Let's talk about this one. This is a German camera. It's a Voigtlander Bessa from 1930. They were produced in the 20s too, but this particular model is from 1930. And it is also a full-length camera with more features than the Kodak. Kodaks tend to be very family-friendly cameras. German cameras like the Voigtlander are more professional back then, right, including now. So it's really well made, and in order to open the camera, right, we do a similar thing. There's a little button here, and we open it by pressing down the button, and watch what happens. Beautifully, it opens up with its bellows. Now, this camera also has a little lever here that when I open it up, I could put it down on the table. And I didn't show you on this one, so let me show you again. This one actually has a lever too, so let me open the camera. On the bottom of the camera, it's a little hard to see, but this area over here opens and will also allow you to sit the camera down on a table. This is hard to sit down because it's a carpet, but okay. So let me collapse it. Put this on the side. Now, again, bellows are very fragile, so be careful with the bellows. Don't touch them unless you really absolutely have to. The front of the camera, you could change what is known as the shutter speed for the camera to open and close faster or slower. It starts off at 1 second all the way to the fastest speed, which is 1/250, 1/250th of a second. Because the shutter speeds are actually pretty slow, I recommend ASA 100 to 400 speed film. And you could also adjust the aperture on this one, unlike the Jiffy Kodak, so it's more professional. It goes from apertures, 4.5 all the way up to, I believe, 22. And you could move the arrow on the bottom, or you could rotate the top for the shutter speed. Arrow on the bottom, again, for the aperture. Rotate this metal disc for the shutter speed. To take a photo, you do a couple of things. First, you have some options. You could frame your photo in this little teeny area here. It's a mirror, so whatever is in front of you will be projected into the mirror. And now you could take a photo vertically, look through the mirror, take a photo. Or you could take a photo horizontally, and you would move this mirror, it rotates upwards. So you could look through there. That's the classic way. Another way that you could take a photo is you press down on this little metal button here, and sometimes it could get stuck, but you pull up on this black piece and you'll notice that out pops an eyepiece, so you could look through there, kind of frame your photo. You're never gonna look through the actual lens because this is not an SLR camera, this is an older camera, so you're framing it through this eyepiece. Okay, excellent. Now, this is your option. You can close it by closing it up like that. You know, I usually use this instead. It's kind of fun. Another feature, if you want to take longer nighttime photos, you could have extra cable release that you put the cable over here, you screw it in, and then you press down to take a photo. So you don't shake the camera because of the slow shutter speeds. At a slower shutter speed, the camera will shake and you're going to get blurry photos, so be careful. Now, to take a photo, you press this dial over here upwards until it clicks. Bam! You focus, and on the bottom you'll notice that there's this little knob here. To take a photo, you press, like my finger, you focus, you press the knob, bam, took a photo. You could also focus by moving the lens back and forth, and on the top it tells you approximately how far you are from your subject. So you would move that to the approximate distance from the subject. Again, these older cameras, you don't know for sure how far away you are. You try to do your very best. To close the camera, you push this down, and then you press down in this area over here, this little metal area, and when you press it down, it beautifully collapses back into itself, and it's very portable, and it clicks. Bam! All closed. Tripod mount over here again, something I didn't talk about, but this particular camera was made in the 1930. There are many different models. The reason why I know this is from 1930 is because there's two different size negatives. Unlike our Jiffy Kodak, which only has one larger negative, you can make it smaller or larger, and that will tell you how big your negative is going to be. You could do the negative change by using your screwdriver, rotating this back and forth, and depending upon which one you rotate, it will change the negative size. Now let's open up the camera. You do so by taking your finger over here, pressing down on this metal tab, and sometimes it gets kind of stuck because it's an older camera, but you got to be careful, and bam, it opens up, and you put your film on the bottom over here, roll it across the top, again just like the Jiffy Kodak, place the film into the spool up here. You're going to rotate this little metal knob forward until you see arrows on the bottom. You close it up until it clicks. Then you're going to rotate until you see whatever size negative you chose. It's going to be arrow, arrow, Kodak 1. That's your first photo. Take your photo, keep going. Once you're done with all your photos, you roll this all the way forward, and then all the film will be on the top spool. You open it up, take the film out, you're ready to develop or get it developed. So both of these cameras are awesome cameras. You know, this one's more user-friendly, this one's more advanced. And there are many different varieties of folding cameras out there, and our shop sells many different types. Another one that we sell that I'm not going to teach you on this video how to, maybe I'll do another video later, is called the Kodak Autographic Camera, which is from the 1910s to the 1920s. Beautiful leather, about 100-year-old camera right now, and it still works, taking awesome photos at lower speeds. And it also opens up. This one opens up, you press the button, open it up very similarly. Sometimes the rails don't agree, you know, and it opens up until a beautiful camera, right? Absolutely amazing to take a photo with a 100-year-old camera. Also works taking super cool photos. So many different varieties of folding cameras out there that Forward Camera sells and restore. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Please follow us on YouTube, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Cameras Forward. Also check out our website, www.forwardcameras.com, for more information and updates. Check out our Etsy store. to see what sort of selection we have, including all these sorts of beautiful fold-in cameras that work. And stay tuned for our next video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.